Well, it looks like the space race is taking on a whole new meaning. Once a symbolic of a country's political prowess, the space race seems to be becoming a commercial race. Since NASA retired its space shuttle program last year, about a dozen companies have stepped up to develop space shuttles to explore the final frontier. Most notably, SpaceX, which launched its spacecraft into the International Space Station last spring. So what are the pros and cons of opening up space to private companies? To discuss this, joining me now is Jonathan Card, Executive Director for the Space Frontier Foundation. Jonathan, welcome. So what are the benefits of bringing the private sector into the space race?
One of the major pieces that the private sector can bring to this is a specialty in systematizing and streamlining the way that we conduct operations. One of the problems that NASA is facing is that in developing their new SLS launcher, they're taking budget away from all of the science and engineering research that NASA does that moves the technology frontier forward.
Now, I know that your foundation, the Space Frontier Foundation, the goal is to transform space from this government-owned bureaucratic program into, one that is more inclusive and open up this frontier to more people. What is out there for humans? What is Space Frontier? What are you hoping to find?
What's out there? There are asteroids near Earth that have more platinum and platinum group metals than have ever been mined on Earth. Many of the most valuable metals that we have here are only accessible because of asteroids that have crashed into Earth. We're going to where those valuable resources live. So a lot of our problems in energy and in mineral resources can be solved by going out into space and bringing them back. We've also already benefited from things like telecommunications and things like XM and Sirius radio that allow information to get around the Earth much better.
All right. So it seems like there is a lot of possibilities out there. What are the values in commercializing space exploration and making space travel available for regular people? Do you think it will make this mission more feasible?
I think a lot of the question needs to be, I think part of your question needs to be turned on its head. If we're not doing this for the people, what is the point? If we're not going into space so that most people can go, so that this becomes a place that humanity can expand to, what is the purpose of any of it? Stephen Hawking has made the point that if we're in so much danger of hurting ourselves here on Earth, we need more than just the Earth in order to live on. If something serious happens to the Earth, from global warming to nuclear war, we need humanity to be more than in just one basket. We can't put all our eggs in one basket.
So is certainly setting your sights high there. What kind of a time frame are we looking at when people can start making flight orbits?
My thought on that is these things always happen later than you think, and when they happen faster than you expect. We have there's a company called Planetary Resources that expects to start traveling to near-Earth asteroids to mine them and start collecting these resources within a few years. There have been plans for space stations and prototype space stations. There's actually a prototype private space station already up in space now. When things start to come together, they're going to come together very quickly, and I expect it to be soon.
How soon are we talking?
There are some companies that expect to be on the moon by 2012. Moon Express does. Planetary Resources expects to be up there in the next 3 to 5. I'm personally going to be surprised if Bigelow Aerospace's space stations don't have regular customers, if not permanent settlers, in the next 10 years.
Speaking of customers, Jonathan, how big would you say the market is for commercial space exploration?
The company Space Adventures, which sells access to the space station through the Russian space program, has sold just about every seat they've been able to get a hold of from the Russian space program. There are a lot of people with a lot of money who want to go now, and the more people that go now, the more people without a lot of money can go soon. And I think there is a large market from biotech research, tourists, and settlers that want to go because they just want to go.
When we say that we're opening it up to more people, I mean, what do we mean by that exactly? How much would it cost? How accessible are you seeing space becoming?
Right now, we are dropping the cost of space access by about a tenth of what it's been under the space shuttle. SpaceX is advertising rates of $2,000 to $3,000 a pound. When under the shuttle, it was about $10,000 a pound. So it's dropping very quickly. There are flights to go suborbitally for 2 to 3 minutes of weightlessness that are going for about $100,000 to $200,000 a ticket. When previously that wasn't even on the market, it wasn't available to people. So getting to space in various ways, getting to space for longer and longer durations, the prices are coming down dramatically and opening up to more and more of the people.
Now, $200,000 sounds like a lot, but that really opens it up to a lot more people.
Compared to infinity, it's much lower.
Compared to infinity. All right, fair enough. So what types of tech innovations are we seeing from existing private companies, for example, like SpaceX or Virgin Galactic?
We're seeing some really great advances in the technology, new kinds of engines, new kinds of guidance. There's a company called Masten Space Systems, for instance, that has a completely AI-controlled vertical takeoff, vertical landing rocket that's had a very successful flight earlier this week. Part of what's exciting about SpaceX and Virgin is not their their rocket advances, but bringing in new manufacturing techniques that the rest of the commercial sector has already adopted, but the space sector hasn't. And bringing Virgin's ability to communicate with the public has me very excited.
All right. And lastly, Jonathan, just want to ask you, because, typically the space race, when you think of the space race, you think of, some of the world leaders aiming to make their mark in space. We saw the pride associated with landing on the moon. With space becoming, or space travel becoming privatized, how does that change that dynamic?
I'm sorry, changes the dynamic for...
Yeah, I mean, in terms of like what the space race, what it means to be part of this space race.
I think we have every right to continue to be proud of what we've done with the Apollo program. But what's important here is not to try to inspire people. The point here is to do great things that are inspirational. And the more we get used to doing something, the farther out and the more spectacular things we can accomplish.
So you're saying it's not a competition. This is for the goodness, for the good of mankind.
Exactly. And the easier it is to get to low Earth orbit, the easier it is to put a man on the Mars or on Titan or some other great, remarkable achievement that's going to be the new Apollo program.
All right. Hopefully that's where it goes. Jonathan, thank you so much for coming on the show. That was Jonathan Card, Executive Director for the Space Frontier Foundation.